One morning, you look in the mirror and see a familiar face, but the eyes staring back feel like a stranger's. It's you, but not entirely. As if someone has carefully sculpted this version of you, piece by piece, shaped by expectations, obligations, and the endless list of things you should do. Every choice, every compromise, every time you stayed silent to keep the peace, it has all built a version of you that the world wanted, but not the person you truly are. And then there comes a moment, a single, irreversible second, when the truth becomes undeniable. The curtain falls, and you realize you've traveled too far down the road of living for others, so much so that you've lost sight of yourself. You've spent your life trying to fit in, trying not to disappoint, but in doing so, you've abandoned the one voice that matters most, the one within. Carl Jung once said that the most important journey we can take is the journey of self-discovery. But choosing yourself is never easy. It demands that you face your fears, break free from the habit of pleasing others, and dare to say no to anything that doesn't align with who you truly are. And in that moment, transformation begins. Today, I invite you on a profound journey, not just of self-discovery, but of choosing yourself above all else. The awakening moment. There are moments in life that arrive without warning, no alarms, no clear signs, no grand announcements. Just an ordinary day like any other. You wake up, get out of bed, go through your usual routine, brush your teeth, wash your face, make a cup of coffee. But then, as you glance at the mirror, something makes you pause. The eyes staring back at you feel unfamiliar. They are not tired from lack of sleep, nor burdened by a specific sadness. They are simply empty. You stand there, gazing at your own reflection, and for the first time in what feels like forever, a question arises in your mind. Who am I really? Not the title society has given you, not the role your family expects you to play, not the version of yourself you've molded just to fit in, but you in your most honest and filtered form. And then, a painful realization emerges. How many years have you spent trying to please others? How many times have you swallowed your words just to keep the peace? How many dreams have you abandoned because duty and obligation seemed more important? How often have you smiled when all you really wanted to do was scream? Perhaps at some point, you convinced yourself that sacrificing your own desires for the sake of others was noble. But was it? And then, something shifts. Maybe it's an offhand comment from someone that suddenly makes everything clear. Maybe it's the crushing weight of exhaustion from pretending for too long. Or maybe it's simply the moment when you realize you can't live like this anymore. Like a tiny crack in glass, barely noticeable at first, but slowly, gradually, it spreads. Until one day, the entire structure collapses. You can no longer ignore the emptiness. You can no longer lie to yourself that this is the life you wanted. You can no longer keep running in a race you never truly wanted to join. And then, from deep within, a voice rises, one that has been silent for far too long, but now speaks louder than ever. What if, this time, I choose myself? A simple question, yet powerful enough to change everything, because at that very moment, transformation begins. You stop trying to fit in. You stop fearing the word no. You stop letting the expectations of others dictate the direction of your life. Instead, you begin asking yourself what you truly want. You start listening to your own feelings instead of chasing external validation. You accept that not everyone will understand you. Not everyone will approve of your choices, and that's perfectly okay. Choosing yourself is not selfish. It is liberation, and when you finally walk this path, you will come to realize one simple truth. Your life was never meant to belong to anyone else. It has always been yours, the journey back to yourself. There comes a moment in life when something inside you shifts. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not triggered by a grand event or a dramatic revelation. Instead, it creeps in quietly, like the soft whisper of wind before a storm. One day, you wake up and realize that the life you've been living feels off. Not entirely wrong, but not entirely right either. Like wearing a borrowed suit tailored well enough to fit, but never truly yours. You've spent years accommodating, adjusting, bending to fit expectations that were never your own. You smiled when you wanted to speak, stayed when you wanted to leave, said yes when every fiber of your being screamed no. You've worn so many masks that, at some point, you forgot what your own face looked like, and then a question arises, quiet at first, but persistent. Who am I really? This question marks the beginning of one of the hardest journeys a person can embark on, the journey back to yourself. The revolution of choosing yourself. Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in modern psychology, once said, "Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries. To truly know yourself, you must face every hidden part of you, the dreams you buried, the desires you suppressed, the truths you ignored just to make others comfortable." But choosing yourself is not just a personal decision, it's a revolution. Because the moment you choose yourself, the world around you reacts. Some people will look at you with doubt. Some will feel threatened by your newfound confidence. Some will criticize you, whispering that you've changed, that you've become selfish. But the truth is, you haven't changed, you're simply coming home to yourself. The problem is, many people have become accustomed to seeing you as someone who always bends, always sacrifices, always puts their needs before your own. And now, when you begin to set boundaries, when you stop seeking approval, when you pursue a path that isn't designed to keep others comfortable, their equilibrium is disrupted. Not because you are wrong, but because your transformation forces them to confront something they may not be ready to face: their own fears, their own unfulfilled dreams, their own inability to choose themselves. Carl Jung understood this deeply. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. True freedom comes from within. The greatest freedom is not found in external validation, nor in meeting the expectations of the world. It is found in the quiet certainty that you are living in alignment with who you truly are. And yes, not everyone will walk this path with you. Not everyone will celebrate your growth. Some will leave. Some will resist. But those who remain, they will be the ones who see you fully, completely, and without conditions. Because when you finally step into your true self, the ones who truly belong in your life will recognize you not as the version of you they preferred, but as the person you are always meant to be. True freedom comes from within. For so long, you have searched for something outside yourself. You have sought approval, believing that if others love, accept, and respect you, then you must be worthy. You have carefully constructed an identity based on what is expected of you, molding yourself to fit into roles that were never truly yours. You have done everything right. You have been agreeable, accommodating, and easy to be around. You have suppressed your desires in favor of keeping the peace. You have chased external success, thinking it would bring internal fulfillment. But something still feels missing. Because deep down, in the quiet moments when no one is watching, you feel the weight of a question pressing against your soul. Is this really who I am? And then, one day, perhaps in the stillness of a sleepless night, or in the middle of a conversation where your words feel foreign even to yourself, you realize something profound. The validation you've been seeking was never meant to come from the outside. It was always inside you. And in that moment, everything begins to shift. The revolution of choosing yourself. Carl Jung, one of the most influential thinkers in modern psychology, called this process individuation, the journey of becoming who you are always meant to be, not the person society shaped you into. Not the version of yourself that exists to make others comfortable, not the mask you've worn for so long that it almost feels real, but you, the raw, unfiltered, unapologetic you. And the moment you choose this version of yourself, the world around you reacts. Some people will feel threatened by your newfound confidence. Some will say you've changed. Some will try to pull you back into your old patterns. They may call you selfish. They may accuse you of abandoning them. But the truth is, you are not abandoning anyone. You are simply refusing to abandon yourself, and that is not selfishness. That is self-respect, synchronicity, when life aligns with you. Have you ever noticed that when you finally make a decision that feels right, when you stop forcing yourself into a life that doesn't fit, things start to fall into place? People who align with your true self start appearing. Opportunities begin to show up without struggle. Doors that once seemed permanently shut suddenly swing open. This is not a coincidence. It is what Jung referred to as synchronicity, the idea that when you live in alignment with your authentic self, the universe responds. It does not mean the path will be effortless. It does not mean everything will be easy, but it does mean that what is meant for you will find you because you are no longer hiding from it. But here's the hard part. Not everyone will celebrate your transformation. Some will resist it because your growth forces them to confront their own stagnation. Some will distance themselves because they preferred you as the version that catered to them. Some will try to pull you back because your evolution makes them uncomfortable. And this is when you will be tested. Do you continue forward, even if it means walking alone? Do you trust that the right people will find you along the way? Do you believe that choosing yourself is worth the risk? Because the truth is, it is loneliness, a doorway to self-discovery. One of the hardest parts of choosing yourself is facing loneliness. You may lose relationships that once felt like home. You may feel isolated from people who don't understand your journey. You may question whether you made the right choice. But here's the thing: loneliness is not the enemy. Loneliness is the space where you finally meet yourself. Because when you are no longer surrounded by noise, by opinions, by obligations, by the expectations of others, you have the rare opportunity to ask yourself, who am I when no one is telling me who to be? And in that solitude, something beautiful happens. You stop tolerating relationships that drain you. You stop settling for less than you deserve. You begin to enjoy your own company. And then the loneliness fades, not because you filled it with distractions, but because you filled it with yourself. And that is the moment you realize something life-changing. You're never incomplete. You never needed someone else to make you whole. You're never lacking. You're always enough, the most important choice you'll ever make. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." For most of your life, you have been looking outward. You have been seeking something external to complete you. You have been waiting for permission to be yourself, but the life you are meant to live, the one that feels aligned, fulfilling, and deeply true, will never come from the outside. It will not be found in the approval of others. It will not be given to you by those who benefit from your silence. It will not appear as long as you are afraid of disappointing people who never truly saw you. It will come from one decision, the most important decision of your life, the decision to choose yourself. And when you do, the world will not fall apart. It will finally fall into place. So now, I ask you, Are you ready? The most important choice you'll ever make. Choosing yourself is not a single moment of revelation. It is a lifelong commitment. It is waking up every day and reaffirming that your worth is not measured by how much you give to others at the expense of yourself. It is the conscious decision to no longer betray your own needs for the comfort of those who have never understood your depth. But this choice will not come without its trials. There will be days when you second-guess yourself, when the echoes of past expectations whisper doubts into your mind. There will be moments of discomfort, of unfamiliar solitude, where the absence of the old feels almost unbearable. The space you once filled with external validation will feel empty at first, and that emptiness will try to convince you to return to the patterns you left behind. Do not mistake this emptiness for a loss. This is the clearing, the sacred space where you rebuild. You will learn to sit with yourself in this silence, and in doing so, you will realize that you are never truly alone. Your soul, your essence has been waiting for you all along, buried beneath the layers of conditioning, beneath the years of seeking approval, beneath the fear of standing alone. And when you finally meet yourself truly, fully, unapologetically, you will understand that no external validation could ever compare to the peace of being at home within your own skin. The people who once relied on your compliance may resist your transformation. They may accuse you of changing, of becoming distant, of no longer being the version of you they once depended upon. And perhaps they are right, because you are no longer willing to be a version of yourself that exists only for the benefit of others. You are no longer willing to diminish your light to make others feel comfortable in their shadows. You are no longer willing to sacrifice your own well-being for the sake of a false sense of belonging. But here is the truth. The people who truly love you will never require you to shrink for their comfort. The people who truly value you will not ask you to abandon yourself in order to keep them close. And the right people, the ones who see you for who you are, not for who they want you to be, will find you in your truth, not in your conformity. As you continue walking this path, you will start to notice something remarkable. You will no longer seek relationships that drain you. You will seek those that replenish your soul. You will no longer tolerate environments that suffocate your growth. You will cultivate spaces that nurture your expansion. You will no longer live in fear of disappointing others. You will live in pursuit of your own fulfillment. And in that pursuit, you'll find something you never expected: freedom. Freedom from the weight of expectations. Freedom from the need for approval. Freedom from the idea that your worth is tied to how much you can give, how much you can endure, how much you can mold yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. You'll realize that the greatest act of self-love is not just choosing yourself once, but choosing yourself again and again, every single day. And as you do, the world around you will begin to shift. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach will appear effortlessly. Connections that align with your soul will replace those that drained your spirit. The path that once felt uncertain will begin to reveal itself, not because the world changed, but because you finally stepped into alignment with who you were always meant to be. So now, I leave you with one final question. Are you ready to choose yourself? Because when you do, you will not lose the world. You will finally find your place in it.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.